Hi everyone, meet Panha Chheng.
Hi everyone.
Hi. He's a CEO at MedYear. So Panha, can you explain, or can you introduce yourself and explain how you got into a CEO and a co-founder of MedYear?
Yeah, okay. So hi everyone. I'm a Cambodian American. I came to this country when I was very young, but I was born in Cambodia, and I grew up in Texas, and then spent a lot of years living in other parts of the world, like Washington D.C., California, Beijing, Seattle, New York. I'm basically a New Yorker.
Oh, okay.
My driver's license is a New York
Okay.
license. But I'm here in California temporarily on assignment for MedYear. We're doing a really cool initiative with Salesforce, the world's top software company. So I started MedYear in 2012. Around that time, I was consulting for big organizations like Kaiser Permanente, and I was part of a team that tried to bring some healthcare, U.S. healthcare innovations to China. So around that time, I got really involved with healthcare, and I saw that the U.S. healthcare system was quite broken and dysfunctional, full of complex issues, and it seemed like there was a better way. There should be a better way for us to have our medical records, for us to communicate with our doctors and take charge of our own health. So one day I was at a healthcare conference, and I attended this talk by this guy. His name is Mark Scrimshire. He's a patient activist. So he was giving a talk about patients' rights and how the future of healthcare could be if we gave patients all their data and let them take charge of their own health. So after his talk, I was so inspired by his talk. After his talk, I went up to him and I said, "Hey, I really agree with your vision for healthcare and everything you have to say. Would you like to start a company with me?" So that's how I met Mark, the co-founder of MedYear.
Okay.
He said yes, and then here we are.
How did
6
you
years
start? How did you start?
Me, as in.
How did you establish a company?
We started off in stealth mode for a little while. We were, at first it was just Mark and I just talking to people, just having conversations with healthcare executives, healthcare leaders, industry experts, gathering information. We call this the discovery phase, just really understanding all the nuances of healthcare, and there was a lot. There's a lot of nuances in this industry. I mean, it's the largest industry in the country, over 2.3 trillion in spend. So we spent the first couple of years, about the first year or so, just assembling our landscape of what is going on with healthcare and what's about to change. And then we then brought on some engineers to go and build it. We built a prototype, started talking to people and showing the prototype, and then things just kind of progressed from there. As we would talk to healthcare executives or investors, we would show them what we built, and then they would give us some feedback, and we kept iterating and making the product better and better. Eventually, we released a mobile app into the Apple and Google app stores. And today's mobile app that's available now, you can get it and download it and use it, and it lets you message and get your health records from 700,000 doctors across the country.
Can you describe what your product is?
The product is it's an app that lets you download your medical records from a lot of different places, so you can have it all in one place and under your control. It's a simple app. You just you get your medical records. It's all categorized for you into your medications, your allergies, procedures. So this allows you to aggregate all of your healthcare data into one place. You don't have to log into 20 different portals or try to chase down paper records. It's all there.
So how does this the hospital has to do it? How does this work?
Yeah. So. Luckily, the laws have changed, and now it's now the law of the land that hospitals must give you your medical data. So what we do is we let you we let you connect.
You as a patient?
Yeah, you as a patient.
Oh, okay.
So the app, the MedYear app, lets you request your data, either from your doctors, these 700,000 doctors, or we can also connect you to 105 hospital systems. And you just get your data that way. So you provide your login information, and then you download your information. And then the other thing that MedYear does, besides just letting you store the information, is it lets you act on it. So once you have information, you want to do something with it. You want to ask a question, right? You want to ask your doctor, hey, this medication you prescribed, I'm feeling these side effects. So what we do is we let you message your doctors too. So you can also message the 700,000 doctors directly into their hospital system.
How is that different? Because right now I'm with Kaiser, right?
Yeah.
I have personal log on, but I can message doctors. Yeah. How is this different than that?
It's very similar, except that Kaiser is a closed system. Meaning once you leave Kaiser, you can't message that Kaiser doctor anymore. Right? Okay. MedYear is very it works very similar in terms of medical records and messaging, but it's untethered. It's like universal. So you can message any doctor, get your records from any place, and you can have it all in one.
So so you said individual are allowed to get their medical record and they import it themselves into the app, right? And they can maintain that.
Yep. Correct.
A lot of interest in that? A lot of patients doing that?
Yeah, the biggest group of people that really need this are people who are quite sick, like people with the statistic is that 12% of the population has 5 or more chronic diseases. These people are quite sick. And that's 12% of the U.S. population accounts for 41% of all healthcare expenditure in the country. It's like almost half comes from just a small group of people. So these are the people who are really sick. And these people, if you have 5 or more diseases, you have your records scattered everywhere because you're going to a lot of different doctors and hospitals, and you have if you have a lot of diseases, chronic diseases, you need to kind of maintain, manage those diseases. So you need to be in contact with your doctors a lot. You need high-touch communications. People need to check on you. You need to ask questions pretty regularly. So we allow you to do that. We allow you to, if you're very sick, we give you the tool that you really need to just get everything under control.
So when you do your discovery phase, this is what you found, that people with chronic illness need this kind of information, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, ultimately, we all do.
Okay.
Ultimately, for peace of mind, you want to have your records where you can access them. And for convenience, you want to have your doctors all in one app. You can just message them. Okay. So we all, at some point, will need it. But it's for us, our initial focus is on the population that's very sick and needs it urgently.
So what triggered you to want to open a company?
Well, both of my parents were entrepreneurs growing up. They had restaurants and stuff. And I always appreciated the lifestyle of an entrepreneur, the freedom, the ability to kind of direct your own path. And, what really inspired me, though, is it's sort of like my faith. I felt like this was my calling. A couple of moments in my life, I had sort of epiphanies and quasi-religious experiences, and the universe kind of showed me where I had to go and what I was put on this earth to do. So even though this is a hard job, it's one of the hardest things I've ever done, I just suck it up and do it because that's what I'm born to do.
How big is the company?
The company's 15 people.
15 people, and it's located in New York?
It's located in New York, yeah. Headquarters are in New York. Okay. But we will be opening up a San Francisco office relatively soon. That's where I live. Yeah, San Francisco is great. The company was actually founded initially in San Francisco. We moved to New York in 2014. But we'll maintain our headquarters in New York. New York's obviously a very important city for commerce overall, but then, of course, healthcare. And the reason we're opening a San Francisco presence soon is to nurture this relationship that we have with Salesforce, which is the world's top software company. I mean, they own San Francisco now, basically. Right. And so they become an important partner of ours, and we are a member of their accelerator. We're one of 18 companies that were selected this year to be like the cream of the crop that they're going to eventually partner with.
So the employee of the company, what kind of skill do they need to be able to work at your company? We're a tech startup, so
the skill set, I would say, really revolves around product engineering or product marketing. Those are the two most important skill sets. You pretty much have to be able to code really, really well, and then you have to be able to sell it to people really well. So as a tech company, that's kind of the general stuff you need to do is ship software. We also have a doctor on the team, a lawyer on the team, and so on. But half the team is software developers.
Is anyone on your team Khmer, or just you, the only Khmer?
I'm the only Cambodian, but we have a very diverse team.
Oh, okay.
Our engineering team, a lot of them are from Uzbekistan. So they're all scattered all over the world. Some live in Dubai, St. Petersburg, Uzbekistan, Los Angeles, Spain. We have some Hispanics, Latin American folks on our team. We have our co-founder is British. We also have people from the LGBT community on our team as well. Our chief legal officer is gay. Yeah. And so we have an extremely diverse team.
Speaking of, an individual need to know how to code, right? So what is your educational background that allow you to be able to open your own company?
Well, so interestingly, I'm not a coder myself. I can't code at all.
So how does your educational background help to get to where you are today?
Yeah.
How did you go through?
Yeah, so I studied politics and government as a student. My undergraduate degree is in politics and my graduate degree is in public policy. So what I learned in school was how society works, overall society.
Where did you go to school?
I went to college at Catholic University of America, and I went to graduate school at UC Berkeley.
UC Berkeley, okay.
So anyway, we learned about the laws, and we learned about regulations and stuff in school. So what allowed me to do this was I brought my expertise in regulatory affairs, and I could see the government changing the laws, and I could determine what would happen. So the laws changed, right? Now the laws before 2009, this wasn't possible. Actually, before 2016, this wasn't possible. The laws only changed very recently, thanks to something known as the 21st Century Cures Act, which was signed into law by President Obama just before he left office. And this is the law that says hospitals must give you your data without any issues or special effort. So my expertise in regulatory affairs, politics, and government allowed me to anticipate that the industry would now have a new set of mandates to comply with and a new set of rules to operate under. So the industry would have to change because the laws change. So then therefore there would be this important business opportunity to now help patients move their data from all the hospitals into their own hands.
Now, our Khmer community, we have a small percentage that have gone to higher education. Now, what did you do to be one of those who have gone through?
My dad was really big on education. He was always pushing me. Like he would reward me for straight A's, and he really cultivated a love of curiosity. I'm naturally curious, so that helps. But he would take me to the library every day, and I'd read for an hour or two when I was a kid. So for me, education was just kind of a way to feed my curiosity, and I think that's kind of critically important for you to have, because some people don't like school. Some people find it boring or tedious. And I think there's obviously some shortcomings of our U.S. education system at some points. But generally speaking, if you're poor and you need education to move up, like social mobility comes from education. So that was always the ticket out of poverty was to get a good education. And initially it was just get a good education, so you get a good job, which I did. But I fell in love with education for other reasons. I love knowledge, and I want to be wise. I want to learn important truths that others before me have discovered, and use that to fuel my own life. So education spans more than just school for me. It's about a way of life and an attitude towards like being someone who's always learning and always being a lifelong student.
So for those who in high school and middle school who dream to be an entrepreneur, right? what do they need to do to prepare to go to Berkeley, to go to 4-year college? I mean, what did you do to get to those schools?
Well, I think the most important thing, if you're young and you're like in middle school or high school, is get like a mentor.
How'd you get a mentor?
I was lucky. My Latin teacher was kind of like my mentor in college. She would, you know, of course I went to a regular Latin class, but then also on the side she would give me other books to read. And that's what it takes. It takes like someone, usually an older person, like a parent or teacher, showing, doing more than the norm, like going above and beyond just, you know, go to school and do your homework. Actually instilling a sense of a greater curiosity. So if you're young, I would say, you know, see if you can find a teacher who will kind of take you under their wing and help you blossom. I've always believed that to get to the point where you can be this, you know, entrepreneur, where you can pick yourself up from your bootstraps and go charge forward and go change the world, you need a lot of investment in you. You need people to invest in you. Like I'm here now because a lot of people have, you know, invested in me.
Did you seek the mentor, or how did you run into the mentor?
I sort of sought it out. I mean, it's just a matter of developing a relationship with someone, and you know, you find someone you really respect and admire, and someone you can learn a lot from.
You know, kids, especially Cambodian community, we have this, you know, different thinking. You know, even though they're, you know, what you call that, minority myth, right? That Asians are smart, but for Cambodian and include a few others, that teachers, counselors are not given credit. You know, they think that, you know, these people are, or we don't have the ability to get, you know, to go to college, and therefore they give us the lesser of opportunity, the fewer opportunity. And so kids would go through this kind of motion, and how would they get out from that, to get motivated, to get encouraged, you know?
I think it's tough.
Have you gone through any kind of similar experience during high school and middle school?
I think that it's tough because Cambodian kids have to deal with certain trauma. Like Cambodian families have war trauma that other families don't. So you're already operating at a disadvantage.
Right.
Sometimes, you know, there's poverty and so on. I think that it kind of falls to the parents. You know, kids will not naturally, unless they're naturally curious, they kind of have to be pushed, and they have to be given some structure and discipline. Otherwise, they'll just wander and end up screwing up. So I think parents, insofar as they can, should try to impart the importance of education on their kids. And you know, our schools, there's a wide disparity in terms of the quality of education you get between different schools. But I went to a public high school, and I was lucky to be in like the honors programs and stuff, so I got a little bit, you know, more out of it. I think you just have to do the best with what you got. If you're in a, you know, impoverished area, maybe you don't have the best teachers, so then you got to maybe go and try to learn stuff online or in the library too. I think if the parents instill a sense of curiosity in the kids, and then, you know, help align resources for the kids, things will work out pretty well. But you know, and then sometimes the schools can be great, sometimes they can't. So it's hit or miss with the schools.
Yeah. I know that right now probably better, but before, Cambodian parents did not have the resources or the knowledge to help their kids.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, you know, my dad can only help me with tutoring until about 4th grade.
Okay.
So the rest you have to kind of figure out on your own. But at least the first few years of school, I was accustomed to, you know, extra lessons and learning stuff ahead of time. So that instilled in me a sense of like, you know, what happens when you have these extra lessons is you already know the answers, you know, ahead of time. So the teacher's like, oh, that kid's really smart. So you know, that's where parenting, I think, comes in.
You kept on saying you've been lucky. you were in honors and AP classes, right?
Yeah.
Can you describe that a little bit? How did it happen?
I think I took some tests, and
okay.
I think some aptitude tests.
Okay.
And then they say, okay, this kid's pretty
Okay.
sharp, so put him in gifted and talented honors classes. And then I also sought it out too because I knew that that's the pathway to a good college.
Okay. And you knew it from this mentor?
Yeah. I mean, at some point when I guess you're in high school, you start thinking about college, and then you have to think, okay, how do I improve my probability of getting to the college I want to go to? So then you have to think about, okay, I got to do honors in AP classes, I have to do extracurriculars and stuff.
Okay. So basically, you had AP class, you had honor class, you had extracurricular, and anything that would help you to get into college, and you got this from mentors basically, and you sought out your mentor.
Yeah. I played varsity sports. I was in band. I did theater. I think it's important to be well-rounded in general. It's a lot of people do it so they get into a good school. I did it because I enjoyed that stuff. And that's not for everyone though. Some people are more creative, so they're better off doing like one or two extracurriculars they really care about. Some people are more athletic and better off doing one or two sports that they care about. I'm kind of just like this curious person who wants to try it all and do well at all.
So what kept you motivated to try hard in high school, especially, that allow you to have good grades, good test score to get into the colleges that you want to go to?
Well, I wanted to leave Texas. So I wanted to see the world, and I knew the way to do that was to go to a school that was outside of Texas. So I think just my desire for a better life, or my for seeing my hopes and dreams fulfilled, that was what motivated me. I was very much driven by my dreams and aspirations, and I knew that achievement was a stepping stone to that.
So your dream was to be a CEO of MedYear?
I never thought I would be an entrepreneur. I mean, I saw my parents do it with their restaurants, but I never thought I would be an entrepreneur. I thought it'd be just like a business guy or something, or maybe even like working in government or politics. The MedYear thing kind of just happened because serendipitously I was working in healthcare, consulting for healthcare organizations while I was kind of in this mode of, okay, what should I do next with my life? And then the idea just kind of sprung in my head. I don't think you should set out to be a CEO. I mean, it's a cool title sometimes, but for me, entrepreneurship is you see a problem, you go solve it, and I think people should have the mindset of how can I help address the problems that I see? How can I create an impact? How can I use my skills and resources and intuition and knowledge and creativity to fix problems? Sometimes you fix problems as a member of a team. Sometimes you are the person who has to organize a team, and then you become founder, CEO, whatever. But generally speaking, I think just have a problem-solving mindset, and then hopefully the rest will fall into place. You don't have to be the CEO because the CEO is a tough job.
Don't you have to like to solve that particular problem? For example, for you, what you call it, medical record, right?
Yeah, it's a huge problem. Like I remember all the challenges I had with trying to help my mom with her healthcare, and I really wanted to solve that problem because it's my mom. If she gets sick and she's on medications, I want to try to help her. But I remember I couldn't understand. I couldn't figure out what medication she was on because I'd have to go to Texas and get her paper records and stuff. I was like, this is so complicated. So for me, there was a personal motivation to solve the problem. And I think that's core of any entrepreneurial endeavors. You must be very passionate about solving this problem, or else the struggles and challenges that come with entrepreneurship, they'll kill you. They'll make you want to give up. And unless you're ultimately very, very passionate about it, you're going to give up.
I have to ask this question. What is your annual revenue for your company?
Right now we're a startup, so like 75,000 a year or something.
Okay. So how do you get funding to keep your company going?
Currently, we have some angel investment from friends and family.
Okay. Okay.
But we also, I also put in some money to start the company as well. I went through an IPO in 2010. So I had a little bit of resources to help jumpstart things. And then we are going to be raising more money pretty soon now that we're part of this big Salesforce accelerator.
Yep.
Now there's a lot of attention on us.
So is this it? MedYear is the end goal for you, or there's going to be something else?
No, there's other stuff. I've got a music venture that I'm working on. Music is a big passion of mine. So I'm working on a new digital music platform. This is more of a side project right now because obviously healthcare being the largest industry in the country, it's very complex. It's a hard job. So I don't have a lot of free time. Also, Salesforce is asking for a lot of my time too. So after the accelerator concludes and things kind of hopefully reach a more steady state with the company, I would like to work more on my music stuff, and then I've also always had a very deep interest in politics and governance. I worked on the 2008 Obama campaign as part of the data team. So for me, politics and governance is kind of core to who I am, and I think when I have more free time, I'd also like to do more of that. I'm not saying I would run for office or anything, but I think that ultimately I think our country is in a lot of trouble, and I have some ideas on how to help, but that's down the road because MedYear's taking up a lot of time right now because it's a big
How about
job.
Cambodia? Have you had any thought of involve that?
Yeah,
how
sure.
we can help? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like to. Of course, I do these community events because they're important.
Right.
And my aunt's a big person in the community, so I'm there to support her. Meet the other people in the community, and elevate our culture. But I've always wanted to do some stuff in Cambodia itself, like maybe start a hospital or start a zoo or something.
Okay. Now, for the next generation, what do you have to tell them so that they keep motivated? They seeing the world is so bright, you can be whatever you want to be.
Well, that's what growing up and for a while, that's what they used to tell you, that you can be whatever you wanted to be. And I don't think that's true anymore.
Okay.
I think the kids these days they're savvy now. They know that the world's not an easy place. And so now I think what I would tell them is it's not just this open-ended, you can be whatever you want.
Yeah.
I think kids these days are actually very motivated to go solve problems. Like really the kids that organize these rallies and stuff as a result of the Parkland shooting. And I've been very vocal about gun control. I'm really proud of these kids.
Yeah.
I'm very inspired by them. I think they're not out there trying to be something or be somebody. They're simply dealing with a problem that needs to be dealt with. And this new generation has so many problems that they pretty much have to just go start fixing. So I think that makes them more community and civic minded, and less about like what can I be. What will I be when I grow up? No, it's more about like
what can I do to make things better?
Yeah, because there's enough problems to just start going and just start trying to solve them. So I think kids these days should they're motivated to fix the problems already, because otherwise it will consume their lives. You can't go to school these days without worrying about being shot up by a mad gunman. So it's already to the point where kids don't need motivation. What they need are resources and allies.
So what would you recommend for them to get resources and ally?
Well, I think they should be smart about whatever subject they're taking on. I think as a youngster, when you go up against an adult, the adult has decades of additional information and knowledge. The adults lack idealism and energy, but they have a lot more information. So kids should be as smart as possible. They should know their stuff. They should know the facts about the issues that they're taking on. And I think
how should they know? What do they need to do to know that?
Yeah, so they have to seek out information, but I also would warn them to make sure they seek out credible information, because not all information is credible. There's a lot of fake news and misinformation out there. So seek out credible sources of information.
So how do you know? How do you determine credible source and non-credible source?
I have my way.
Okay, let's talk about your way.
I read like newspapers and magazines that are very, very prominent, have won Pulitzer Prizes and stuff. Like, if you won a Pulitzer Prize, I think you know what you're doing. You know, so I try to stay away from Fox News. I also stay away from MSNBC because I think they're a little too extreme on both sides of the spectrum. And I try to seek out, you know, I also try to read news from non-U.S. outlets. I read The Guardian and you know, watch stuff from the BBC just to get additional perspective as well.
Okay, what about Marlai? We're talking about.
Yeah, allies. You need allies. I think that's where you know political and community organizing skills come into play. Social media can be a useful tool for that. Enlisting support from others who are like-minded. You know, and of course, we do live in a democracy, sort of.
Yeah.
So having more voices in the room is good, and I think the way to gain allies is to be very specific about what you're trying to accomplish. Don't just say, "Hey, we're going to go change the world." We're going to have peace in the Middle East. You need to be fairly specific about this particular policy issue you want to address, or this particular problem you want to solve, and kind of be clear about what success looks like for you. So, okay, if we get the laws changed, is that success? Okay, yeah, that's what we want to do.
Okay.
And we're gonna get the allies who can agree with us. And we're gonna work together on getting the laws changed. And then when the laws change, we can celebrate and claim victory. So I think the way to ensure that your allies, you can get allies and keep them, is to make progress towards a clear, definable goal. Otherwise, you get some people excited, and then nothing happens, and then they go away.
Yeah. Okay. So the nutshell, the bottom line, if you describe in one sentence, what got you to where you are today?
Curiosity.
Curiosity. And that come from education, from personality.
It's my personality.
Personality. So somebody has to have your type of personality to be where you're at.
Yeah, I like variety.
Right.
I like information. I like learning.
Okay.
Education is what you consume. If you have that type of personality, I think certain personalities are better suited for being an entrepreneur or CEO. I think people who are curious and who understand human psychology and who are outgoing and I guess bold. Those people tend to do better. This is just my informal anecdotal view of just meeting other CEOs and entrepreneurs. But yeah, you kind of need to embrace uncertainty, and you have to be very comfortable living at the edge. You have to be very comfortable with ups and downs. You have to be very comfortable living at the edge, very comfortable with ups and downs, very comfortable with uncertainty. It can shake a lot of people. So I think without that kind of personality and that inclination to say, okay, I'm going to take some risks, and I'm going to work my way to success. Then I think most people will struggle. It's not just hard work alone. It takes a certain ability to see what's needed and to see it through.
Now, your education was totally in a different area, right? So how do you get the knowledge to do what a CEO has to do or needs to do?
Well, I took a couple business classes at the business school, so I took some accounting classes and corporate finance classes, and then also through my jobs as I was working my way. For big corporations, I worked for Deloitte, which is one of the top consulting firms for a while. That type of job really does prepare you. I think it prepares you with like a lot of process knowledge, like how things should be done. How do you deliver a good proposal? How do you complete an important project on time and so on. So these are like job skills, and the other part of the job the other part of like on-the-job training is around presentation skills, communication skills, and interpersonal dynamics and so on. So those things they don't teach you in school.
Right.
You know, I mean, you can give presentations in school, but giving a presentation in school is one thing. Giving a presentation in front of a a board of directors where there's like millions of dollars on the line, it's a whole other thing. So I think that you have to blend the two. You know, education is really just the starting point. Your book knowledge is the early step, the first step. It's the foundation. But most of what I do, most of what I have to embrace for my job is not in a book somewhere.
Right.
It might be in a couple of random books about startups here and there.
Right.
But a lot of it's just personality and social skills that you pick up through other parts of your life.
Thank you. Is there anything else that I haven't asked that you would like to add for our next generation? Get them inspired.
Yeah. I think that everyone should. Okay, so what I would leave with is a quote from Mark Twain. Mark Twain said, "The two most important days in a man's life are the day he was born and the day he learns why." So I think anyone, young or old, but anyone should seek out, try to develop enough self-awareness and understand your role in this world and society. Like, what are you really here to do? And then everything, once you figure that out, everything will fall into place. Some people aren't cut out or meant to have like a bunch of degrees or have a big job with within a company. Some people are better suited to be artists. Some people are better suited to be athletes or something else, right? So everyone, I think, has a unique role to play, and it's important for us all to sort it out. And once you sort it out, then what you do becomes an extension of that. All your decisions are like, okay, I'm doing this because this is what I was chosen to do, or what I'm called to do.
How did you sort yours out? I'm curious. Your role.
Mostly through my faith.
Through your faith.
It's a very spiritual exercise to kind of figure out why you were born. Why are we put on this earth? It's a spiritual exercise. So I think prayer and meditation are important, at least for some people to let to kind of elevate your consciousness beyond like the mundane stuff that we live, the day-to-day, running errands and social media, all that stuff kind of clutters the mind. Yeah. And it's not necessarily going to tell you what you were chosen to do. So you have to figure out, first of all, who chose me? Is there a God? Right? And then did God choose me to do something? Of course, God chose you to do something. You have to figure it out. So you have to talk to God. You have to start praying or start meditating.
Whatever the individual believes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to kind of craft a connection to this higher consciousness and kind of take yourself out of the day-to-day mundane stuff, which is very distracting and clutters your brain, and start to operate at a higher level. And that's where you start to see clarity. Okay, this is why I'm here. Steve Jobs used to say that you can never connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking back. So when I look back on my own life, I see these things that happened. I see like this. My first job out of grad school was writing regulations, and at the time I was like, okay, well, it's a decent job, pays well, I get to do some cool stuff. I didn't realize back then that experience of being in the weeds with regulations would allow me to be this entrepreneur that I am now and work in a highly regulated industry. I didn't know that back in 2003. I just thought it was an okay job. Right. So the perspective of serendipity and how things line up in your life, that's something that's been very important to me, and that's what also gives me the motivation to keep going. The recognition that those things happen for a reason to put me in this position means that I've been given this opportunity now, and I'm supposed to go do this thing. So when I feel like giving up, I remember that. And I say, okay, yeah, but I'm supposed to do this. The world has conspired to make this happen and for me to be in this position. So then I just kind of suck up and keep going.
Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else?
No, that's good.
That's it? Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.